With each passing week, with every new indictment, we're learning more about the kind of country that Donald Trump tried to turn us into after the 2020 election. A country, in his mind, where democracy is no longer the guiding principle, where votes can be found even when they're not earned, where the Justice Department can be used to keep a failed leader in power. But with each new indictment, the latest out of Fulton County, Georgia, we're also learning more about the kind of country that, in the face of all of that, has so far survived. We're learning more about the country we still are, a country where equal justice under law isn't some lofty hypothetical, but actually means something, or kind of means more than anything. Donald Trump continues to learn that lesson the hard way. After that grand jury in Fulton County indicted him and 18 co-defendants this week over an alleged conspiracy to overturn the election results in Georgia, he is now facing a whopping 91 felony counts in total. 91. With a Friday deadline for all of these defendants to turn themselves in, next week means a trip to the Fulton County jail for the former president. And according to the sheriff, it also means a mugshot. That will be a first in this summer indictment tour. And right now, Trump seems worried in a way that is sort of unusual for him, at least publicly. We don't know what he does behind the scenes. After promising for days he would hold a major news conference tomorrow on Monday to finally unveil those apparently irrefutable claims of election fraud, he canceled, citing the advice of his lawyers. Just think about that for a moment. So for Donald Trump to back out and openly admit he did anything at the request of his lawyers, well, one, that's a new thing, but it can only really mean one thing. He's scared. And frankly, he should be. So he's trying everything he can, from the old playbook, just dusting it off, to try and delay any trials, distract, and of course, his favorite, paint the prosecutors who have charged him as political actors out to get him. But here's the thing. His current legal predicament is not entirely the result of individual prosecutors. They're simply doing their jobs. It's not the result of partisan politics. Most people testifying against him are Republicans, MAGA Republicans, many of them. It's the result of his own conduct. My first guest today was the Attorney General for George W. Bush, and he is pleading with his fellow Republicans to at least consider that the problem may rest with Trump and not the prosecution of him for his alleged crimes. Go figure. It's worth repeating. Trump is in this situation because of the actions he himself took as president. He is here because 4 different grand juries, made up of ordinary citizens, as they always are, decided there was enough evidence to indict him on 91 charges. And even as he looks down that long barrel of the months ahead, Trump's fate is not up to one judge or to the special counsel or even to one district attorney. It's up to the ordinary citizens who make up the juries in his cases. Citizens returned these indictments as part of the grand juries. Citizens will decide on his guilt. Those are the people who will have the final say. That is equal justice under law. And that is exactly how the system is supposed to work.